Do Birkenstocks and Beemers describe you and your lifestyle? The flower farmer turns blossoms into bucks during Blue Lake Ranch's annual Iris sale. And learn how you can participate in the airport expansion project. I'm Monty Grushkin, and you're watching Open for Business.
You're watching Open for Business with Jim Mackay, a business news show that brings you information about commerce and industry in the Four Corners. Open for Business is brought to you by First Southwest Bank. We can help you get there. First Southwest Bank. And by the La Plata County Economic Development Alliance. Pioneer Spirit, Business Smart.
A professional rodeo has returned to town after 14 years of hiatus. John Harper, son of Durango and Silverton narrow gauge railroad owner Al Harper, launched the True West Rodeo Series on June 4th with more than 80 contestants. It will run every other Wednesday through July, with the final competition scheduled for Sunday, August 17th, and Inside Durango TV will broadcast the July 16th and August 17th rodeos live on Channel 15 of the Durango cable system. It's the first professional rodeo series in Durango since the Durango Pro Rodeo ended in 2000. The Durango Pro Rodeo offered weekly performances during the summer from 1988 to 2000. It was a professional Rodeo Cowboy Association sanctioned event and drew professional rodeo athletes from throughout the country. Jeff and Linda Mannix of the Santa Rita Ranch operated the rodeo. Their signature marketing campaign included parading Bevo, their beloved longhorn steer, through the streets of downtown Durango to attract the attention of tourists. Harper said he launched the rodeo to bring the area's Western heritage back to Durango. Each performance will include bull riding, bronco riding, barrel racing, team roping, and more. Halftime shows will include and feature local cultural and historical acts, including traditional Indian dances and historical reenactments. Harper said the first performance featured more than 80 local and regional contestants, including a professional bull rider who earned $2 million in winning purses last year. The premiere drew nearly 300 audience members without any advertising, Harper said. He wanted to launch a soft opening to get the kinks out of the operation. He plans to cross-promote the rodeo with train passengers and predicts crowds of up to 1,000 or more by the end of summer. Bucking H Rodeos, a family business from Bloomfield, New Mexico, is providing the livestock for the new rodeo. Harper said he chose Bucking H Rodeos for their experience on the professional rodeo circuit and their reputation for raising healthy, quality animals. The rodeo is a big draw for tourists, said Linda Mannix. She estimated that out-of-town visitors comprise 70% of the Durango Pro Rodeo audience. Rodeos are especially popular with European travelers, Mannix said. Durango is synonymous with Western culture, and when Western Europeans visit, they want to see cowboys and Indians and all things Western. Harper concurred. He said European train passengers regularly ask about Western culture and whether Durango offered a rodeo. Now, Harper can say yes. The next performance is scheduled for 7 p.m. on Wednesday, June 25th at the La Plata County Fairgrounds. For ticket and schedule information, visit truewestrodeo.com. Are you wired for success? Does Bohemian Groove describe your lifestyle? What about the aging of Aquarius? Those are among the top 10 categories that a national marketing firm used to describe the households located within a 20-minute drive of Durango's downtown retail district. And those descriptions may be key when it comes to attracting new retailers and businesses to Durango. Earlier this year, Three Springs, the City of Durango, the La Plata County Economic Development Alliance, the Durango Business District, and other organizations hired the Buxton Company to find out who's spending what, how much, and where in La Plata County. Buxton is a Fort Worth, Texas research firm that studies spending habits of locals and tourists to create a demographic profile of consumers in La Plata County. The information will be used to recruit new retail stores and to retain local businesses. Buxton tracks spending habits with more than 250 data sources, including companies that rate your credit or track your Visa card purchases. Buxton uses the data to create psychographic profiles of consumers that are so detailed retailers can even decide what kind of product to purchase and where to place them on their store shelves. Last month, Buxton released the first of its research, and the profile indicates that Durango is a town with a growing population of baby boomers who have a comfortable income and money to spend. Buxton gathered demographic data and spending habits from households within 20 and 45 minutes of driving time from downtown Durango. Comparing profiles developed by the credit reporting company Experian, Buxton identified 10 different demographic segments that represent at least 3% or more of the population. The largest population? They're categorized as Bohemian Groove. These baby boomers represent more than 12% of the households in and around Durango. Those in the Bohemian Groove demographic tend to be older singles with modest incomes. They're proud individualists, they read, they like artistic activities and the outdoors. Nearly 70% of this population is 46 years of age and older. Other segments include the Unspoiled Splendor Group, Rooted Flower Power, and Birkenstocks and Beemers. They're middle to upper middle class households, older, and have comfortable incomes. These baby boomer households comprise more than half the population in the study areas. On the other end of the spectrum are the colleges and cafe crowd. They comprise nearly 6% of the households in the area, and just as you might guess, they tend to be young singles and recent college graduates who don't earn much money. They like outdoor activities. 70% are younger than 45, and 52% earn less than $35,000 a year. Although Durango touts itself as a family town, none of the top 10 population segments includes the primary characteristics of families with young kids. Second homeowners are not the super wealthy, as you might expect. Rather, they tend to be middle to upper middle class older adults who reflect the Durango population. And visitors? They tend to be the wealthiest of all. According to the study, they're prosperous upper middle class families with segmentation titles like American Royalty, Platinum Property, Kids in Cabernet, and Couples with Clout. Roger Zelneritis, Executive Director with the La Plata Economic Alliance, said he already is using the detailed data to shape the Alliance's marketing strategies to attract new businesses. The Alliance website, for example, will de-emphasize families and children and instead will incorporate well-to-do, successful, middle-aged adults who enjoy an outdoor lifestyle. Zelneritis said Buxton will next identify potential retailers and businesses for recruitment based on the demographic profiles they've developed. Buxton will be paid $70,000 for the research project. For more information, visit the La Plata Economic Development Alliance website at yeslpc.com. What will the airport expansion look like? That's up to you. More after this break.
One of the things that we promise every guest at Durango Motor Company is one low price, plain and simple, always.
They can just come in, select the vehicle that they want, and already know the price up front.
Our salespeople here at Durango Motor Company are not paid on commission. Our guys and gals are actually paid on guest satisfaction.
So it doesn't matter if you're purchasing a car that's $4,000 or $70,000, their main interest is finding the car that's right for you.
The Sporting News Grill at the new Holiday Inn and Suites of Durango is now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Featuring a full-service restaurant and bar with 11 HD TVs, it's a great venue for family and sports fanatics alike. The Sporting News Grill. Stop in and let us show you our game face.
The way this school came to be is I found that there was a group of kids that were excelling in the traditional high school, but there was also a group of kids that were bright and were very disengaged from their education, and they didn't have any other options in town.
We had great momentum for the first few years of our school. We were housed in a strip mall in downtown Durango, and we simply made the best of it.
So we needed to move our school to a better facility, and our involvement with First Southwest came about when we had exhausted the traditional avenues that charter schools look to for financing and funding to address the facilities question. We really were struggling to make it work.
And luckily First Southwest Bank stepped in, and quite honestly, had the bank not stepped in, I don't think that we would have continued to exist this year.
They absolutely focused on what is important for the community, how can we support this thing that's a really important part of the community in giving choice in education, and that's what they focused on. And I was truly amazed and really had huge gratitude the fact that they stepped up and made this deal happen. That's where First Southwest Bank has really helped us make this dream come true.
This is the story of a company that has its roots in Southwest Colorado. A story about two college friends who founded a local business, of their families and the families of their staff, and of generations to come. It's about the concerns we hold, the passions we share, and the bonds that unite us. We're the Wells Group. And for 3 decades, we've been proud to be a part of the Southwest Colorado community.
You're watching Open for Business. Hi, I'm Monty Grushkin. If you've flown out of the Durango airport, you know that the terminal is bursting at the seams. With more than 200,000 passengers expected to pass through its doors this year, the terminal is half the size it should be. That's why the City of Durango and the La Plata County Commissioners hired J'Viation, a Denver engineering firm that specializes in airport development. At a joint meeting with the City Council and the Commissioners earlier this month, J'Viation engineers outlined the process they will use to develop a 20-year master plan to guide future expansion. And you will have several opportunities to tell the planners what you'd like to see. J'Viation's Travis Vallon and David Naffey told the elected officials that public participation will be a critical component of this process. It will be guided by a 50-member planning advisory committee that includes a who's who list of community leaders. The plan includes an inventory of existing facilities, a growth forecast, what will be needed to meet that growth, and a list of alternatives to meet future needs. 5 community meetings are scheduled to give residents an opportunity to comment before key decisions are made. For example, the community will have a say about preferred alternatives. You'll be able to tell the planning group what you think will be the best solution to overcrowding at the terminal. And you'll also have an opportunity to participate in the terminal design and the airport layout plan. All minutes, community notices, and key documents will be published on the J'Viation website with a link from the airport's website. To follow its progress, visit flydurango.com. After 42 years as owner and operator of the Orr House restaurant, Beetle Apshagan has taken on a partner so that he can spend more time fishing. Apshagan announced earlier this month that longtime employee, chef, and restaurant manager Ryan Lowe is now part owner and partner in the Orr House restaurant. The partnership signals a changing of the guard and the restaurant's eventual transfer to a second generation of owners, Apshagan said. Don't expect any major changes, though, and don't expect Beetle to completely disappear. Lowe said he plans to maintain the Orr House's reputation as a top-quality restaurant where you can enjoy an expertly cooked steak, a great cocktail, or a wine list that earned a Wine Spectator Restaurant Award. Beetle Apshagan and the late Jim Arias established the Orr House restaurant in 1972 when the area south of College Drive, then 6th Street, looked more like the Bowery than the Victorian shopping district of today. There were few high-end restaurants then, and Durango was far from the dining mecca it has become.
My main competitors were Velma at the Velma's Supper Club on the north end of Maine, where the Hampton Inn is now. My other formidable competition was the Villa, which is out on Highway 3. It's no longer a building, and that was owned by Paul Koss. Francisco's had been in for maybe 2-3 years. At the time, they were much smaller than what they are now. The downtown of Durango was not a pretty place like it is today, with all of the trees and the improvements that have been made. And so this was kind of a rough part of town, and I was lucky enough to, when I decided I wanted to do this, I came in with a partner who I met in Vail, Jim Arias, who has since passed away a couple years ago. But we were partners for 40-some years, and we found this location, and we were shaking in our boots because it was $125 a month to rent this location.
The Orr House today is the longest-running family-owned and operated restaurant in Durango. Some would say it's because Apshagan has a knack for hiring talented staff who develop fan clubs of their own. Many of his employees over the years have graduated from the restaurant business to become successful professionals and business owners in the Durango area. One of Abshagen's talented hires was Ryan Lowe. Lowe is a native who started work at the Orr House as a dishwasher.
I started here in 2001, the ending of my junior year in high school, as a dishwasher. And I washed dishes for about a year and a half and have always had a love for cooking, great food. Funny enough, I actually hadn't ever eaten here before, having worked here. Stepped foot in the doors a couple times into this mysterious steakhouse that was bustling all the time, and walked in and it was too busy once or twice with my dad to even get in. But ended up working for the Orr House as a dishwasher, learned to line cook here, worked my way through. I was 18 years old, working on the grill, cooking $50 steaks for people, and people probably wondered who they had.
$3.95 steaks. Well, that was when I first started.
Right. This was I was 18 years old cooking at one of the nicest restaurants in town. It was a real privilege, a real honor to be part of that. Working to put myself through college. I was going to Fort Lewis College, born and raised here in Durango, so it was real satisfying for me to be involved in such a small, well-ran local business that was providing me the means to put myself through college.
As general manager of the restaurant, Lowe convinced Abshagen to modernize the operation. He wanted to incorporate local produce and meats, expand the wine list, and change the menu to reflect diners' trending tastes. That meant the demise of the salad bar and a major remodeling project to update the kitchen.
We didn't want to be the restaurant that people just said, oh, it's an institution, it's always been here, always done the same thing. We wanted to keep our core values intact of what we've always done and what we've always stood for, which was, like Beetle spoke of, really high quality food, really incredible, warm service, incredible drinks. All those things were, those are the foundations of what this business started upon and why people keep coming back. But we started to see there were parts of what we were doing that were wasteful. We had to take out the salad bar. That was one of the biggest challenges for us. I mean, my time here, that's been the biggest challenge. I don't know, Beetle's probably had some struggles over the 40 years, but that was a pretty serious change. That was like a heart transplant.
Throughout the changes, the Orr House continues to emphasize service and gratitude for customers who choose to dine there. Lowe said that the Orr House still attracts customers who come to celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, and engagements. In fact, 6 wedding proposals have occurred at the Orr House so far this year. Abshagen says he will continue to help Lowe with management decisions, but he no longer will be involved in the day-to-day operations.
I'm just so excited to see a young man like Ryan with the kind of talents that he has be able to take this restaurant into the next generation. It's been fun seeing a lot of the young people that worked here grow up, stay here, start successful businesses. I could just go on and on with names, and those young people that were going to college and worked here now are bringing in their families, their kids, their grandchildren, and so on. Grandpa used to work here. And they look at me and go, "Who's that old guy?" He was here when you were working. But it's very rewarding, and I'm just so excited to have Ryan as my new partner. I gave him an opportunity to buy into the restaurant, and after doing his due diligence, he accepted, and we put a deal together where he's the man now. I'm going to fish and do other things that I like to do.
You can find out more about the Orr House at orrhouserestaurant.com. Next, how David Alford, the flower farmer, got started in the blossom business. And we'll visit with Susan Lander about the business of nonprofits.
Who knew that I would be helping people into a cycling lifestyle for 34 years? And during that 34 years, things have changed a lot.
Working on toys, basically. Toys for adults, toys for kids, things that make people happy, keep people healthy.
You know, that's a real nice thing about this shop. Developing those relationships with our customers is really a plus here. I've made a lot of real good friends.
The Powerhouse Science Center thanks all the dads, moms, kids, and community members who participated in Who's Your Daddy 2014. You made it an incredible success. Special thanks to our Sugar Daddy sponsor, the Carver Brewing Company. Our main stage sponsors, Mercy Regional Medical Center, Centura Health, and RH Crossland Foundation. And our presenting sponsors, Fast Signs of Durango, Inside Durango TV, 360 Durango, and Four Corners Broadcasting. We truly appreciate all our community sponsors.
You're watching Open for Business. I'm Monty Greshkin. Every June, Blue Lake Ranch in Hesperus opens its gardens for the annual iris sale. We stopped by Blue Lake Ranch with David and Shirley Alford to find out how they got started in the flower business. Then, stay tuned for a visit with Susan Lander about the business of nonprofits.
In an area known for its cattle ranching and hay production, the Blue Lake Ranch is an anomaly. Its proprietors, Dave and Shirley Alford, grow and sell flowers, and every June they share their harvest during their annual iris sale. The farm harvests literally thousands of rhizomes that produce blossoms of every color in the rainbow, and local gardeners descend on the ranch like bees to blossoms to get their pick of plants. David Alford is the flower farmer behind the riot of color, and his love of flowers began when he was a boy.
Grew up in Buffalo, New York, and spent the summer on my grandparents' farm on Lake Erie outside of Buffalo. And my grandmother was a huge gardener. And it just was such a magical experience. And I think probably my greatest memory was those armloads of peonies. And being a little kid and just standing on my tiptoes with those huge bouquets just sort of cascading down and smelling that smell, and I think that's how I got hooked. About 19 years ago, Shirley took me to Long's Garden in Boulder, which was this beautiful old iris business. And Mr. and Mrs. Long were in their 70s at the time. And I just thought, and they were just out there working, and he was on his tractor, and I just thought, I just want to be like that. And these iris were so beautiful. And they had an area where they were selling iris for $4 that were unnamed. And Mrs. Long said, yeah, sometimes we mislabel or we aren't really sure, so we put them all here. And we sell them for $4 each. And I said, well, thinking maybe they sold 500, 600. And I said, well, how many of those did you sell last year? And she said, oh, I think about 16,000. And I went, 16,000 times 4. And I thought, I can do that. And on that same week, we had gone to see a wonderful old guy named Jack Durrance. He was an old radiologist up in Denver, a friend of Bill and Mickey Thurston's from up in the valley. And they said, if you're interested in iris, this is the guy you need to talk to. He ended up passing on his collection to us. 40 years of hybridizing. So there's my story.
Alford specializes in heirloom plants, and his crop includes more than iris. His fields are covered with peonies, aster, petunias, and poppies, and each of the flower families has a story behind it.
About 15 years ago, Shirley and I went on top of Kennebec Pass and collected native columbine seed. And you can see the bed right over there.
The provenance of Alford's flowers includes pioneering families and gardeners who have long since passed, but their gardening legacy lives on at the Blue Lake Ranch.
Luscious.
Here with me today is Susan Lander, owner of Lander & Associates. Susan has been a leader in the Southwest Colorado nonprofit industry for more than 20 years. What a lot of people may not understand is that a not-profit organization is a business, only it doesn't pay taxes. And therefore, managing it, much the same way you would a for-profit business, is essential. However, being designated a 501c3 organization has some key differences that pose extra challenges for nonprofit organizations. According to activist and fundraiser Dan Pallotta, too many nonprofits are rewarded for how little they spend, not for what they get done. Instead of equating frugality with morality, he asks us to start rewarding charities for their big goals and big accomplishments, even if that comes with big expenses. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you for having me, Monty.
So tell me, given your experience and your vision for nonprofits going forward, what did you think of Dan's comment?
Thought it was very interesting. For-profit businesses, when they open, they are allowed to go 3, maybe 5 years, not make a profit, spend all they can on marketing, and that's fine. A nonprofit has to have a balanced budget each year, is not supposed to spend any money on marketing. You know, you've been on boards. You're supposed to get all of that donated, and nonprofits are accountable to their funders. They could be grantors, corporate, individual donors, and a business is only responsible to itself.
True, and of course the large businesses are responsible to their shareholders,
Yes.
so there's this incentive to try to earn a profit, whereas nonprofits, my experience goes, is you basically run it to a zero budget.
And also what he said is we're not given the accolades for the difference we make every day in people's lives. We're so busy trying to watch the money and make sure that we balance our budget and don't spend money, and we feel like we're on TV all the time.
Right? Like we are right now. So what do you think are some of the big key differences between running a nonprofit organization versus a for-profit business?
Most businesses, now you have large businesses like banks who have board of directors, and they have paid positions. A nonprofit has volunteer board of directors, and it's usually the roles that are played that cause the differences and sometimes confusion between who runs the organization. A board is supposed to be governing, and the staff and the executive director are managing.
But I can tell you from personal experience, I've been on boards where we would call it hands-on, so it's almost as if we're doing things that the organization, if they had the staff, would themselves be doing. And so what do you think of that, and what do you think Dan would say to that?
I think boards, the goal of every organization is to become strong enough and big enough to have an organization that you have a hands-off board of directors. The rule of thumb is you're supposed to put your nose in and your hands out.
Okay.
Okay.
So when I'm sitting at my next meeting, this is what I'm going to do, right?
Right.
Okay.
You're supposed to pay attention. You're supposed to govern it, be fiscally responsible, watch the finances, pay attention, but not manage the day-to-day operations. That's for the executive director and staff, and that's where I think the conflict comes.
Okay, so in terms of transitioning boards, because again, there's small boards, there's large boards, I shouldn't say boards, but really nonprofit organizations. As you look at the new environment or getting organizations to kind of spend more money, do more of the things that we just mentioned, what advice would you give to an executive director in terms of operating in this new environment?
It's very important to run your nonprofit like a business. Be fiscally responsible, watch your budget, have a strategic plan, and the big thing I see with boards, when a new board member comes on, they might have been a volunteer and run a program, and they're connected to that program. You have to transition them from running a program to being a board member. And then you need to have a board, for lack of a better word, binder, that has roles and responsibility, job descriptions, the strategic plan, because everybody wants boundaries. And if you know what your boundaries are, the staff and the board of directors, it makes communication much easier. And that's where I see that people don't understand what their roles are because you haven't educated a board. They need to come in, a new board member, meet with the staff, meet with the executive director, see who everyone is, see what you do, and then become a governing part of the board.
And as a governing board, in our last few seconds here, their real role, if I understand you correctly, is to help to develop the strategic plan, set the vision, but not manage the organization day to day.
Right. And that strategic plan doesn't matter if you don't bring it out every month at every board meeting. You make a plan, you put it on the shelf, and you go back to work. You need to pay attention.
Susan, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you.
That's it for this week's Open for Business. I'm Monty Grushkin. Jim McKay will be back for the next edition on July 3rd, so keep watching. You'll like what you see.
Thank you for watching Open for Business. Tune in every week with Jim Mackay for information about commerce and industry in the Four Corners. Open for Business has been brought to you by First Southwest Bank. We can help you get there. First Southwest Bank. Also brought to you by the La Plata County Economic Development Alliance. Pioneer Spirit, Business Smart.